So, to try and kind of make a little bit of a follow up, I made a post about how, GE just recently froze their pensions. And, this thing's kind of also happened in the past, not too, somewhat recently, a few years ago maybe, to where cities have frozen their pensions as well. And everybody throws up this huge strike and hubbub about, oh, corporate greed and, mismanagement of money and this and that and all these reasons as to why these pensions should have been funded. And what I suggested was to stop vesting in these pensions and shift your money to 401ks and IRAs and Roth IRAs. Go for a defined contribution plan versus a defined benefit plan. And it's not that anyone doesn't deserve what they vested in their pension. It's that it's not sustainable for the company or city that offers that pension, just for the exact same reason that Social Security is no longer stable for us in my generation. It has nothing to do with whether the fact that these workers who have fully vested pensions deserve that money or not. Of course they deserve that money. My point is that from a financial outlook and long-term sustainability, it would be better for that person to do an IRA or a 401k. Think about it. That money, you can see it. It's in your account. You're responsible for it. Okay? It's not going into this pension in which you're relying on someone else to then pay you back later. Same thing goes with Social Security. Imagine if you took that 12.4% of your wages, every dollar that goes off to the government, in hopes that you can get a small little check every month when you retire. Imagine how much money you would have in a retirement account, IRA or 401k, if you took that 12.4% and off of every dollar and put it into a 401k ever since you started working. Just to keep it simple, don't even figure in compounding interest. Just do the absolute numbers. I mean, you're still looking at million, 2 million, 3 million dollars out of your lifetime earnings, 40, 50 years of working, maybe 60. And throw in the compound interest, and it's way better than Social Security or a pension would be. And where I get that 12.4% from for Social Security is that 6.2% for the employee and 6.2% that your employer matches on top of that. Every dollar, 12 cents on every single dollar that you earn goes to the government. And to get back with the pension thing, is that it just recently came to light that all of these pensions all across the country are severely underfunded because of an accounting change that was recently made, which forced companies, corporations, and cities, municipalities to show their pension assets and pension liabilities. And then where you get the pension deficit from is when you net the two together and your liabilities are exceeding your assets. Okay? So that's where these pension deficits are coming from. And it's not that CEOs and executives or whatever and are taking the money and paying themselves first. It's that the pension itself is supposed to be paid out from these pension assets. And the liabilities are just getting so high that it's great, the liability is greater than the asset, so it creates a net pension liability. So my suggestion was just simply mainly geared towards the people, 40 and under, who within the next 10, 20 years, these pensions could blow up in everybody's face and nobody has retirement money anymore. Because you kept on putting all your money in this pension and then they froze it because they couldn't afford it anymore. Because your city's going to go bankrupt because of this pension. It has nothing to do with the individual person that doesn't deserve their money. It's just that these companies and municipalities can't afford to do the pensions. They cannot afford it. That's why they've been slowly going away, and companies are no longer offering it because they realize that. They offer you 401ks. Defined contribution versus defined benefit. They offer you a 401k. They're not offering you pensions anymore because they know that it's unsustainable for them. And look it up. There's billions. You want to talk about the trillions, I believe. Trillions. A few $1 trillion in net pension liabilities across this country through cities and municipalities. It's not, like I said, it's not that these people don't deserve their money. I would just suggest that don't just go take that job because it offers you a pension. 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, that pension could be meaningless. Meaningless. Whereas if you put it in a 401k or an IRA or a Roth IRA, you can see that money. You can go get it, which you shouldn't. But it's there and it's yours. You're not relying on an outside force to take care of you for retirement. So I just kind of wanted to follow up about that, kind of go into a little bit of detail about why I suggested that, you should start kicking your money into a 401k or an IRA versus contributing to a pension. You don't have to contribute to your pension. You don't have to. You don't have to rely on someone else for your retirement. You can make the decision to take care of you. And I would say over the financial sustainability long haul, it would be in your best interest to put it in a 401k or a Roth IRA or an IRA, whichever one. Just for that reason. Imagine if all of those GE workers, instead of investing in their pensions, invested in a 401k that I'm sure GE offers. It wouldn't be a problem. You would have the money. And then you can take it and roll it over if you leave the company. If you're vesting in a pension and then you leave and you don't become fully vested or whatever it is, partially invested to where you can get something out of it, that money's gone. Gone. It's like a tax then. It's gone. And like I said, it leaves you susceptible to when these companies realize that they can no longer afford the pensions, and then they freeze it, and then you're susceptible to that because, well, a pension worked for my mom and a pension worked for my grandpa, and they got nothing good things to say about a pension. Of course they don't. Nothing good to say. Of course they do. Because it worked for them. Just like Social Security worked for them. But now what's Social Security? Pfft. Yeah, right. Are you serious? Social Security ain't going to be there for me. It's not going to be there for the 20-year-olds, 23-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds of today. For dang sure it's not going to be there for the 20 and under crowd. It's just a system that was put into place that used to work and no longer will in the long term and grand scheme of things because it's simply unaffordable now. And there's a lot of reasons as to why it can be unaffordable, and it's not corporate greed. It's not executives putting money in their pocket before they fund their pensions. It's not that whatsoever. It has everything to do with how they're structured and then how they're supposed to be paid out. Like I said, it's the way that the plan is supposed to work is that the pension assets are supposed to be able to cover the pension liabilities. That's how these plans are designed. That's how it's supposed to work. Just like for Social Security, the current working crowd was supposed to pay the retirees. Well, that worked out great. And then all the baby boomers retired. And now we have way more retirees than we do have people working. And there's a lot less people paying into the system to be able to pay out the people who are retired. And the same goes for the pensions. There's a lot less people working, vesting into these pensions, and they're paying out a lot more because your grandpa, your great-grandpa, and your mom and your dad are retired now. Okay? It has nothing to do with corporate greed, nothing to do with the mismanagement of money, and to add a long tie to that, like it's a multitude of things. That's the one main thing. The working population to retiree population is no longer the same. That's why it used to work. We used to have a crap ton of people who worked and a little bit of people who were retired. Now we have a crap ton of people retired and a little bit of people working. And another reason why pensions don't necessarily work is because they take the contributions, pension assets, and then they invest it. And then let's say, oh, we expect to get a 10% return on these pension assets. So then those get invested. Boop, boop, boop. Time goes on, time goes on. Meanwhile, as the time goes on, you're promising all of these benefits to the people who are vesting in the pensions currently. You're saying, oh, well, we expect to get this much, and so we should be able to pay out this much. And then you're making these promises. Boop, 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 boop. And then, oh, over the past 5 to 7 years, we've only gotten a 6% return. Now what? Now what? You just signed up for all of these liabilities against these assets, and you don't have the assets anymore, but you got the liabilities. Okay? And for anyone that says, oh, they're supposed to monitor the assets and investments really closely, dude, if you looked at it every single day, you cannot judge an investment off of a year or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 4, but you cannot judge an investment off of a short period of time to judge whether it's good, whether it was a good investment or not. You cannot judge it day by day, year by year. It has to be something at least 5 years before you say, oops, this was a bad investment. So I just kind of wanted to add that, for anybody, I would say 30 and under, if you're deciding between a job and it's a pension, you want to go with this job because it's got a pension, think twice. Like I said, look up the net pension liabilities that are in this country currently. They're severely underfunded, and what underfunded means is that the pension liabilities exceed the pension assets. Net it together, net pension liability. That's what underfunded pension means. Look up how big it is. It might be a bigger problem than the student loan debt out there. The number might be bigger. That's why I made that suggestion.